Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time of day you're watching this. Welcome to Collider Dailies. I'm John Aldens, and joining me is
Maggie.
How are you doing today, Maggie?
I am doing great. It is Wednesday, I think. I
I'm
don't
trying
know.
to
It's
remember
been
what day of the week it
a
is.
really long week, but I'm here.
That's the important thing. We had a fun show yesterday. A bit of a fun show. A
Really?
little bit of a fun aftermath afterwards on
And
social media.
shockingly, only one of us got death threats, and it wasn't me for once.
Yeah, I mean, In and Out fans were out and about apparently. Uh But it just is what it is. It happens
All
sometimes.
I got was somebody telling me I didn't know how to make movies. You know, me, who's actually worked on movies and is in the Screen Actors Guild, but I don't know how movies are made.
Apparently not. Either way, today's episode, we're talking about all new things. We're not going to be getting into any of that. Today, we are talking about Squid Game Season 2 is coming. Bad Batch Season 3 got a trailer, which we didn't get a chance to talk about, so we're going to take the opportunity to talk about it today because
Reasons.
it's Star Wars. If you're not talking about Star Wars, it weirds me out. And then the first story of the day is actually about Daredevil Born Again. And that is just simply that what's his name? Wilson Bethel is returning to the role of Bullseye in Daredevil Born Again, showing up after, being there in Daredevil. It was season 2, right? Yeah, it was season 2. It's been a while since I've watched those shows, but he is going to be returning, reprising the role. Maggie, how do you feel about this? Are you hoping that we're going to be having more of that Netflix tone if we're going to be getting a whole bunch of some of their most vicious enemies?
Yes, and as All in the Game pointed out, it's season 3, that he pops up in.
Okay.
God, it was so long ago, but yes. So I am excited that it seems like this rewrite process for Born Again has brought with it a lot more of the Netflix crew. I hope that Disney sat back and realized that people actually deeply care about those characters. However, hearing that Bullseye is returning, struck fear in my heart. Karen Page, watch out. Um, if they kill Karen Page, whatever goodwill that they are building right now will be dismantled so quickly because that's what people loved so much about Netflix is that they took the admittedly not good writing of Karen Page's character in the comics and made it so much more and brought so much more to that character. And I'm just saying, Frank Castle is not going to let anything bad happen to Karen Page. Matt, that's another story.
I hate to go in kind of the dark direction with this, but maybe something does happen to Karen, and that's the justification for getting John Bernthal's Punisher back. There's that story hook for him to come in.
We can
I
have
know.
other things. We can have
I
other reasons.
I can see. Yeah, I know. Fridging a character isn't, the best way to go, but that seems like the low hanging fruit that the MCU might go
There
for
should
now.
never be a but after fridging. Fridging in 2024? Mm-mm. We can do better, Disney. We can do better, Marvel.
We can do better, but as I said, it's low hanging fruit that I could totally see them going. I think with the fan push to get Foggy and Karen back in this show, I don't think that they're at risk. If I had to venture a guess, I don't think that they would want to necessarily bring back these fan favorite characters only to then like knock one of them off.
Well, I mean, like, that was the rumor for what the previous script entailed was that they had been killed, like, off screen. And of course, that's just a rumor. We have no way of like validating if that is indeed what like the plot was, but that was like the rumor that like a lot of sites were running with. And that's just not good storytelling to take characters that were the emotional heart of a very beloved series and then killing them off screen and then being like, I guess it sucks now that everybody that you loved is dead. It just that doesn't work. And I still think that to bring those characters back after this like years of push for people wanting Foggy and Karen to be involved in this only to then kill one or both of them off, even on screen, is just not good storytelling. Yeah, it's the lowest fruit, but it's just not. Especially when things are already still so shaky for Marvel right now. And I think building up that goodwill from the people who like Marvel, like the comics, loved Netflix, and maybe weren't 100% invested in what the MCU was doing, you want those people on your side. Those are the people that were keeping those shows alive. Those are the people that were watching Defenders, even when it wasn't that great, and Iron Fist when it wasn't that great. But they were still watching it. They were still showing up because they had an emotional investment in those characters and that universe. And I just think it's not good when you purposefully incite fans that you are wanting to watch your projects.
Yeah. It's not exactly the best
And
part.
I'm ride or die for Karen Page. I will be tweeting a lot if anything happens to her.
I'm not as ride or die for Karen Page, the character, but I am a little bit more ride or die for Deborah Ann Wool.
I love Deb
Like,
so much.
she is awesome.
I got
Love
to
her.
interview her last year, and that was truly like a highlight because I just adore her. I loved her on True Blood, and she's just so sweet and so kind. And I also love that, like, the dynamic between her and Jon Bernthal on The Punisher and Daredevil. I think that they had such good, like, natural scene chemistry. And anytime you have the opportunity to talk to Jon Bernthal about the connection between Karen and Frank, it is like the best thing. That man, the way he talks about the female characters that his characters interact with, just like will make you love him until the end of time. Like, he's just so passionate. And that's another thing where I'm like, I don't see him wanting to be involved in a story that does that when he's
Yeah.
fought so hard for these characters on the other side and talking about them. Like, it just doesn't work for me. The math ain't mathin'.
So, now we have Foggy coming, we have Karen coming, and now we have Bullseye coming.
Allegedly. We don't have
Oh,
confirmation 100%.
okay. Yes, you're right. But
Marvel hasn't confirmed it yet, but they are going to be filming. They're filming right now. Anybody who was a
yes.
fan of Daredevil and the Punisher and all of that back in the day know they film outside in New York City. People will get photos. We are like mere days away from seeing another scene of Karen and Frank sitting on a park bench.
So outside of the characters that are confirmed and the couple that are not, and outside of Punisher, because I feel like that was going to be your answer, what other characters from the Netflix series would you like to see make a return? Maybe not necessarily in Born Again, but just in other projects around here.
I mean, obviously, I'm looking down at like my entire collection of all the Funko Pops from that universe. Obviously, I want Jessica Jones. I want Luke Cage. I love both of those actors so much. But I also I feel like an obvious, and this is a low hanging fruit to echo what you were saying before, but Claire Temple would make sense. Rosario already works for Disney. Like, she's probably going to pop up. I feel like it's a given if she has time with like Ahsoka season 2 and whatever. I think that makes complete sense. Obviously I would love Elektra to come back. I loved her and Matt, and I thought that was a great storyline. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I just want all of them back, except we can recast Iron Fist. That's fine.
I don't know if we necessarily need to recast. I think we just write Danny Rand out and just get a new Iron Fist.
Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about Marvel is you can have the mantles be carried on to somebody else. And there were a couple people in the Iron Fist show that I think could do much better in that role. So
yeah, I will say I do have to agree with All in the Game Heroes for Hire episode. I would like to see an entire Heroes for Hire show, provided that, as I said, different Iron Fist. I just hope there are no ninjas in the MCU Daredevil.
No. Oh my.
I don't know. That's kind of Daredevil's thing. He fights ninjas sometimes. It just happens. That's been his deal in the comics, and that's his deal on TV. It just happens. It is a little bit ridiculous, but it does happen occasionally to that character. Yeah. So I think as many characters as we can bring in from the Netflix show, the better.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, as I said, let's get a different Iron Fist than Danny Rand. That being said, if he came back, I would not be upset.
Yeah.
Give it a different creative team, maybe some different directors, maybe Finn Jones would be able to do better with it. I don't have the most confidence that he would, but if they were like, hey, he's coming back, I wouldn't be upset.
And I almost wonder, like, given the reaction and the fact that we're still talking about how bad Finn Jones was as Iron Fist, I don't necessarily know if he would want to come back. I mean, that's subjecting
True.
yourself, especially now that there isn't like a protective bubble around Marvel. Like, there are people who love Marvel that will gang up on you like now in a way that we didn't see then. Like, even then there were people that were like, oh, just give him a chance, like it's good, it's okay. But like there's such a different reaction to things now that I think he might be like, I'm good. Have fun with
I
that.
would like to see another go at the Defenders, though.
Yeah,
Just in
I
general.
love the Defenders. I like that story a lot. I didn't think it was done the best in the Defender series. There were definitely aspects I liked about it. So I think
Even
the
though
Daredevil on its own, when they had team up episodes, did it better
yeah.
than the Defenders ever did it.
Oh yeah. Even though the comic book nerd in me is like, that's not the Defenders. The Defenders were Doctor Strange and the Hulk and blah 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 blah. Like, I still want to see it.
Yeah.
That just is what it is. Would love to see Mahershala come back as Cottonmouth. I think if he's going to be Blade, I don't see that
I
happening.
don't see that happening.
No. Maybe they'll make a joke about like, hey, you know, he'll run into Luke Cage, and Luke Cage will make like a joke about it, but that is probably about the closest that you're gonna get.
Honestly, if we're talking about characters I want to see pop up, I wouldn't be against like Moon Knight popping up because canonically that works. Like,
He fits in with that crowd.
yeah, he would
And
fit in
maybe
well.
I think the budget is too big to have this happen, but maybe throw Spider-Man in there. You know,
Yeah,
maybe not like he shows up in like Daredevil series or shows up in a theoretical Defender series, but maybe they show up in his next movie. You
yeah,
know, it's just a logical. Let's get all the street level heroes together and have them do street level things.
yeah. And then obviously Echo, obviously.
Obviously, Echo. Uh, you know, because Echo was pretty good. I finally finished the whole series and I had quite a good time with it. So just more street level stuff. Let's just do all of that. Anyways, moving on to our second topic of the day. Squid Game is reportedly getting a second season, according to Variety. Yeah, so apparently it is going to happen by the end of the year. Now, here is the thing that this immediately sets off some alarms for me, to be honest. Because Squid Game, the whole point of that is this like very large social commentary on the dangers of capitalism and, you know, oligarchies and all this like sort of stuff. Does something like that work with a second season, or is it just old hat at that point?
I'm not super confident. I will admit that I did not fully watch the first season of Squid Game. It's just not my kind of thing. To each their own. I watched enough of it to know like how to cover it and stuff like that, you know, as any good journalist would. And I think that with the way that it resolved, it didn't lend itself to a season 2, and it certainly didn't lend itself to becoming a reality TV show. And
That
while
still is so bizarre to me.
it's so bizarre, and I
It's like
think
missing the entire point.
it's completely missing the point. And I think even a season 2 is missing the entire point of the show. And I think there's something to be said about the fact that like Netflix will cancel TV shows that deserve multiple seasons, but then there will new shows that never really needed it. And so I think there's an element to season 2 of Squid Game that is going to have to live up to its existence, and how it will live up to its existence, I'm not completely certain, because I think the reality show didn't really live up to its existence outside of people liking to watch people be terrible people on TV. Um,
Or watching people have like soul crushingly awful stories about why they need the money, and then just immediately seeing them getting eliminated like
yeah.
right afterwards. Just emotional manipulation for views. For me, the entire idea of a second season, this very much reminds me of, you know, the movie Battle Royale, right? I don't know if you've seen it or, you know, whatever. Did you know that movie has a sequel?
I've heard. I've never seen it, and
Yeah, it is the most unnecessary thing I have ever watched. I love Battle Royale. I own it on Blu-ray. I've got the mangas. I've got all kinds of stuff. Like, I love it. That sequel is an incomprehensible mess of a movie that does nothing. It serves absolutely no purpose in existing other than just being a cash grab. And
Yeah.
I almost am a little worried that Squid Game season 2 might be that, especially because with the way the series ended, it looked like our main character was going to be like trying to fight against the people organizing the games, which is basically identical to what they did in Battle Royale 2. So I'm a little concerned there that we're just gonna get that, but as
Yeah.
a series. I don't know. I'm not excited about a season 2 of Squid Game. If it's good, I will eat my words. I am more than okay with being wrong about things. But I'm just not I'm not confident. That's kind of just where I'm sitting with that. But you know what I am confident about? The third season of Bad Batch,
Mhm.
which I assume that you watched the trailer, and I
Of
assume
course
that
I
you have
watched the
thoughts.
trailer. Yes, I need them to rename it The Bad Bitch because the bad bitch is back.
What are your so okay, like if you haven't seen the trailer, how do you say her first name
Massage
again?
Ventress.
Asajj. That I always trip myself up because I see it written and I'm like, I've watched the shows. I know that it is pronounced Asajj, but that does not look how it's spelled. But anyways, yeah, Asajj Ventress is back. And if you're a colossal nerd, you might have read Dark Disciple. And spoiler alert for that book. I'm about to spoil this book for everybody in chat. 3, 2, 1. She dies at the end of it. So how are your feelings on like, is this a timeline thing? Is she coming back? Is it going to be like a Night Sister Dathomir magic thing?
They're Night Sisters. There's magic. We know this. I, honest to God, do not care if she is back and they never explain why she's back. I'm just glad that a female character who got killed off gets to come back the same way that Darth Maul got his entire bottom half cut off and then he just shows up like a weird metallic Spider-Man. Not like Spider-Man, but like with spider
With like,
legs. He looks
like
like
multiple.
Sid's toy box.
The
Um,
fact that he didn't stick with the multiple legs was the biggest disappointment of Clone
so
Wars.
disappointing. You weak Maul. But yeah, so I honest to God, I don't care if it's ever explained. I'm just glad she's back because female characters are too often killed off. Like talking about Karen Page, they're just killed off their fridge, never considered. But all the male characters get to come back weird ways. You know, we have things like the Lazarus Pit and comics, and female characters are rarely brought back that way. So I honestly reading everybody being like, "Oh my God, but she's dead. How is she back?" I don't care. She's back. That's all that matters. Literally all that
But
matters.
do you feel like it is going to in any way cheapen Dark Disciple?
Did Darth Maul coming back to life cheapen his death in The Phantom Menace?
A little bit,
But
in my
do you
opinion.
care? I mean, a lot of people don't care though. Like genuinely, there's people that are like, "No, he's back. That's all that matters." My emotional support, Darth Maul is
Your
back.
emotional support Sith Lord.
Yeah, my emotional support. I'm looking at my there's like 3 Darth Mauls staring at me on my bookshelf right now. Um, yeah, like I don't care. From a certain point of view, I mean, that is Star Wars' catch-all for explaining things. We already know that they don't really care about the written word being the end-all be-all of what we end up seeing on screen. We've seen that already with Kanan's story. We've seen that already with so many other characters that have just had things slightly different than what we previously believed because of the books. And I think that, you know, even the people who have written for Star Wars and the, you know, book side of things are saying that like this is still canon compliant. It doesn't change anything. These are magical characters. These people fly in spaceships out there. There are witches. A character can come back and it doesn't fundamentally change the stories we have. But I need Quinlan Voss back as well. Like if we're gonna have Asajj back, I feel like we need a Quinlan like cameo. Like that's just where we are. But I think it's great. I think it's great. I'm happy and I'm ready to fight the dude bros that are mad about it.
You're always ready to fight dude bros in
I
the
am
Star Wars fandom.
always ready to fight. I like
Outside of Ventress,
yes.
what did you think of the rest of the trailer? Like how do you feel about like the direction that the team looks like they're going to be going, the direction of the story of the season might be going? Do you have any thoughts, speculation, ideas, things that you want to see, things that you're worried you're going to see?
I don't necessarily think that there's anything that I'm too worried about, so to speak. I think that because these characters and this part of the universe is basically set for like predestination, we kind of know where things are headed anyways. There's not too much that I'm necessarily concerned about, and I think that we'll get most everybody surviving the end of it simply because this is not a gritty adult story where everybody's going to die in such like a horrible tragic way. Like I even have started to believe the theory that Tech is still alive and that he's the one mysterious like clone trooper that we saw that like stands kind of similarly to Tech that's in like different armor now. So and like the same thing we saw with like, oh my god, I'm blanking on his name, Crosshair. You know, you think these characters are dead and they're not necessarily dead, and so I feel like we're going to get a satisfying conclusion with season 3 and this like little contained story, and I like that it seems like they had a plan for 3 seasons all along so that they were able to really tie things off, and that's really where I care, so to speak, is like having a story that feels complete. So that's really where I'm at with this. I liked season 2 for the most part. There's some stuff that I was like, just a little bit more. But I'm excited for season 3. I'm hoping we get all that conclusion stuff, and I would be happy for the people I know who love Tech. I am not the biggest fan of Tech, but I would be happy for the people I know who love and relate to Tech a lot if he is indeed still alive and we get a happy ending there.
Now, the one thing that I am curious about that I want to get kind of your thoughts on. Let's say that hypothetically you were told, "Hey, Maggie, we want you to pitch the next animated Star Wars show." Where would you want to go? What?
I want Resistance to come back and be finished. We never fully
Okay, that's fair.
we never fully got the story that Resistance was telling. And I love the animation style. I love the characters and I love the sequel trilogy. And I love how that story was playing out. And I want that story to continue. And I am 100% on board with the people who always bring up the Resistance anniversary because that was an excellent series that got me so excited for where we were going. And then ultimately didn't go with The Rise of Skywalker. So that story I think is something that needs to continue. But also, you know, I want more High Republic stories. We have the Acolyte coming out. We obviously have Young Jedi Adventures. Those are things that I would love to see, you know, more areas of exploration. You know, you have Martian Rowe, my favorite baddie from the High Republic. No surprises here.
Yeah,
I'd love
I
to
was
talk
gonna
about
say.
him in animated form. Like I don't know if we'll ever get him in live action. Fingers crossed we do. But I would love some
Maybe
of
Acolyte?
maybe
That
timeline's wrong.
yeah.
Different corner. But I would love to see that explored in animation, and maybe in a more of an adult animation, not, you know, as kid friendly as Young Jedi Adventures, even though Nubs is adorable. And yes, he is always just off
I
camera.
was wondering if you had that planted, that you knew you were gonna
I
reference
didn't. I
eventually.
didn't, but he is always just off camera. But yeah, that's like the area of storytelling that I think that Star Wars has the most potential in right now, continuing the sequel trilogy and expanding upon the High Republic, which is, you know, obviously working so well for them in written form. I'm kind of tired of the Clone Wars, and I'm kind of tired of the fallout of the Clone Wars. I feel like that's kind of been done a lot for the last 25 years. um, and so
Gee,
I'm
shocker. I
yeah.
didn't think about that.
Yeah, so I'm ready for us to relinquish the Skywalkers to some extent and to move on from the death and destruction that that namesake has doled out on the galaxy far, far away.
I will say that I think that if I wanted to do really anything animated or otherwise in the Star Wars universe, something around either the High Republic or so far in the future that none of the stories that we have now have any impact on it.
But if it's so far in the future, wouldn't that be now? Because it's a
Okay, I
galaxy
don't
a long time ago.
I don't mean that far in the future. I mean just
Star Wars 2024.
like one like I was always sort of fascinated by Cade Skywalker and like that era.
Wait, are you a Kate Skywalker apologist? I'm a Kate Skywalker apologist. I love that.
I I'm going to put a caveat on this. I didn't really like that character, but I was fascinated by the idea of like, let's jump forward,
Did you
several
see how excited
generations.
I got and then how you just crushed me? I love my Death Stick addict. Great, great,
I know
great.
you do. We've had this
I
discussion
know.
before. This is not like new ground for us to be treading.
I know, but I get excited anytime my trash son is mentioned.
Like just that era, because I want to move away from Skywalkers too. So I wouldn't want to do Cade Skywalker just because I wouldn't want the
Yes.
Skywalker legacy to be part of it. As
I
much as I
have
would love to see more Mark Hamill, I
I have
don't.
I have a pro I have a proposal.
Okay,
Um,
hit me with it.
all aliens. We're never going to get a TV series live action that is strictly all aliens because of just how much it costs to do the prosthetics and all of that. But a series that
Animated, you could do it.
animated, you can do that. And I think that we're still so tied to humanoid characters in Star Wars that we haven't really delved into some of the really cool stories that you could tell with all of the various species and races that we have been introduced to that are just like a side character that walks on and walks off. Like, give me a
I
series
could,
about Max Rebo and his band.
I could see them doing. I mean, I feel like you would have to anchor it around a humanoid race. Uh, but I could see them doing like a series focused around a main character who's like a Twi'lek or Zabrak. Maybe if we want to go real deep cuts with some of the races, we could go Moralen or Cathar. Cathar, you'd run the risk of getting a whole bunch of like cat girl fans.
Okay, well, there you go.
Watching.
You have an audience built into it.
I mean, I guess there you go. Or Togruta would be, just the ones that are like recognizable Star Wars races that look vaguely human enough for like people to be able to relate. I think that would be the way to go. As much as I love the idea of let's do a show focused around Max Rebo's band, that sounds like a short. That doesn't sound like we do an entire series
You
around it.
just don't dream big enough, John.
It's hard to sell. I'm talking from a
What
business
about
standpoint.
Battle of the Bands? We got a taste of this in the Star Wars Visions, the one with Boba Fett's band. The Battle of the Bands idea. There's so much rich culture in Star Wars that we have only had as like footnotes to other stories. And I just think Max Rebo and his jizz band needs to
I
be
can't
explored.
I can't take Max Rebo seriously as a character because every single time that I think of Max Rebo, I just think of him on Robot Chicken, where he's like this stereotypical like jazz man.
And what's
Like
wrong
that's
with
all that
that?
I think about.
We can have La La Land as Max Rebo, and Max Rebo can be Ryan Gosling's character. He can be Sebastian, the
Someone
jazz
called
guy.
Damien Chazelle because he's got to save jizz.
He's got his really just worked that full circle with me wearing my Knuff shirt today.
Get
And that's it.
Get Ryan Gosling involved. He can voice Max Rebo.
There we go. We got it. Friend. Call us.
Anyways, that's it for our show today. That's where we're gonna leave things. Maggie, you got anything coming down the pipeline worth
I
promoting?
do. So today, I dropped the interview with the Oscar-nominated screenwriter of The Holdover, so you can watch that over on Collider. And since
Nice.
we're talking about Star Wars today, I guess I can say that I am interviewing Daisy Ridley on Friday, which I'm very excited about. It is for her movie Sometimes I Think About Dying and her upcoming movie Magpie. So I am very excited about that. So
Nice.
look
Well,
forward
that'll
to
be something to look forward to. I will say All in the Game does bring up one little small bit of news that we will talk about. I saw this shortly before the show. Jon Stewart is going to be back to the Daily Show,
Yeah.
executive producing and hosting every Monday.
I'm very excited about that. But I will
That's going to be
say, as
fantastic.
much as I love Jon Stewart, nobody can replace Trevor Noah. I watch that man every single episode.
See, I grew up watching Jon Stewart on the Daily Show, so he'll always be the Daily Show host to me. Like, I like Trevor Noah, don't get me wrong, but he's not Jon Stewart. That was always the thing. But anyways, that's where we're going to end the show for today. If you enjoyed this episode, why don't give us a follow on whatever platform you're listening or watching us on, and share some love. Until next time, tomorrow we're a little up in the air on who's going to be on. I know that I'm going to be on.
And it won't be me.
And it won't be Maggie. So we will figure out who that is. You're going to be in for a surprise. But tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat place. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.